Hey, it's Honey again. And guess what? Yep, you guessed it. I have another amazing guest. I know I said it. I said it because I have another amazing guest. So make sure that you hit the like and subscribe button so I can continue to do this and bring you guys great, amazing interviews with people that can help us learn and improve our lives. So today, my wonderful guest is a two-time best-selling author on Amazon. She's a keynote speaker. Um, my mind goes blank. There's so many things. She's a trauma coach. She owns her own store. Oh my gosh. This another amazing woman who does all kinds of great, fantastic things to help others. So stay tuned. Like and subscribe, because we're going to have some fun. Hi, I'm Honeygregory, and welcome to Perpetual Learning. And as you know, I always have some great new guests, and I'm so excited today because we're going to learn, because if you're not learning, you're dying. And my guest is so amazing. I've known her for several years. Oh my goodness. Beautiful, lovely lady. She is, I think it's two-time author who's, what is it, bestseller, you know how that thing goes, and a keynote speaker, and she has a store that she sells wonderful antiques, and she's a radio host and trauma coach. I don't even know all the right things to say here because she's so amazing. So I haven't talked to her in a while, but she's been a great friend. So please welcome Ann Payton.
Well, hello,
Hi,
hello.
Ann. How are you
I
doing?
Great. I'm so grateful to be here with you and to hopefully give a lot of value to your audience.
Oh, you will. I know
Um,
you will. And I told you earlier, so I'm going to say on the record, you look so beautiful. I haven't seen you in person in a couple years. Last time you were at the networking group or something.
exactly.
Yeah, but
Exactly.
you look so lovely, lady.
Well, you as well, my friend.
Well, I'm sorry I missed you on Sunday. I guess you guys went to church, went to a different church or whatever, which is fine. I was kind of looking forward to it, but hey, it
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah,
Stuff
it
happens.
does.
So anyway, um, but a reason I wanted you on here is because I was reminded when I was talking to Lori about your coaching. And I know at one point in time you were doing the Bob Proctor coaching classes and
Mhm.
courses and doing some different things, and that it was your goal to write books and help women and help people who have been through, multiple different kinds of things. So right now you're doing the trauma coaching. Is that right?
Yes, Bob Proctor was a great teacher, and my goal was to write a book, and that was part of the reason why I got involved with some of his studies. And I did write a book. It did become an Amazon best-selling book. My second book was also an Amazon bestseller,
Awesome.
and that was something that was in my heart and my mind over 20 years ago, that I knew someday I would put that out there in book form
Nice.
and just be vulnerable with people to help them. And my goal, basically, with everything that I do, is to help women overcome and heal from trauma and adversity so then they can live their best life.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I try to get across, because I know um, that it's very difficult when you're in the midst of situations like that, is your thought process and mindset is, I'll never be happy. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
victim. This has
Mm-hmm.
happened to me, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm proof positive that there is joy in life afterwards.
Right. So would you be
So,
willing to share part of your story, how you came to
oh,
this?
absolutely. My book is Solutions Over Its Sides, and it is my journey through some of the hardest traumas that I lived through in my life. And I use those stories to relate to people, and then I share how I overcame it.
Mm.
And it is doable. There is hope. And one of the very first things that affected me, and I know that one in every two women have experienced some sort of sexual assault
Mm-hmm.
or abuse.
Yes.
And so half of you out there, and hopefully not the half of you, know what happens to your self-worth and your mindset of yourself when this happens. I had recently moved when I was a teenager. I was a sophomore in high school. I moved to another state. I was the new kid in the crowd, and I didn't have very many friends. I was invited to a party thinking that it was a high school party, and it was not.
Mm.
Um, story short, um, if you can picture me as a tall, lanky 16-year-old with, sort of awkwardness because I was so tall, actually got a little attention from a boy, which I didn't realize at the time was actually an adult.
Oh dear.
Um, yes. So that moment changed everything because
Mhm.
I didn't follow my gut and I went with him and ended up being raped that night.
Oh, I'm so
And
sorry.
is that just affects your entire body, your soul, your outlook, your worthiness. It's like in every cell of your body you immediately have this shame and pain and trauma,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And
And nobody believes you. You come back and
I,
you say, oh, so and so did
right,
this. And they're like, he would never do that.
I know,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Or you hear, oh, just get over it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, or it's your own fault. You're the one that went.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we've seen that in
Oh,
society in a
yeah.
couple of different ways.
Yeah.
So, um, well, and as a lot of people do, it's a human thing. When we have experienced something like this, um, we all of a sudden go into survival mode.
Mm-hmm.
We're not worried about making choices for what's best for us. Our immediate survival is to get back to what life was before this happened.
You kind of
No matter,
suppress it, right? You kind of push it
right,
down and just keep going.
exactly.
Yeah.
Push it down, move on quickly, don't think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And as a lot of people do, they start getting into unhealthy habits, sex and drugs and alcohol and food and what
Yeah.
have you. There
Like
are so many.
self-medicating, trying to help keep it down so they don't have to deal with it.
Exactly, because
Yes.
nobody wants to think about it.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to feel that emotion, and
Mm-hmm.
nobody really wants to work at it.
Mm-hmm.
At least not then. You're not there
I
yet.
think you're
To what?
shocked and you don't know what to do, and society doesn't really prepare you for that. And there's not a whole lot of great avenues. I mean, there's more now than there probably was when you and I were in high school.
Hmm.
But, basically all you do, you go tell your friend or your mom, and they're like, what? You're really sure? And then should I call the police or not? And if you do, it
Exactly.
becomes a big old thing. And then now you're this horrible person because you call the cops. I mean, it's just like this nuts thing, right? It's this crazy thing that goes on. It's just, does
It
it?
just keeps snowballing.
Yes. It's like now it won't go away at all.
I
It's
know.
like, so sometimes women just go, I'm not going to say a word because I don't
That's right.
have drama that continues for the next several months and then be
Exactly.
looked at and fingers pointed at and talked
Right.
about. And yeah.
And quite frankly, you're afraid.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This may have happened to women out there over and over again, but let me tell you, the first time you're afraid,
Yeah.
you really are in shock.
And it's
But
not any better if you really know the guy either. Because in my case, I knew the guy and we were all friends. And I thought, I got asked on a date and thought we were just
yeah,
going to go to the movie. And next thing I know, someone was forcing themselves on me and saying no didn't work. And before you could do anything else, it was already done. And then you tell
right.
your friends and they're like, Oh, he'd never do that. Eh, you're crazy. And you're like, okay, whatever. Just let it go.
Yeah,
In my case, I just like, whatever, let it go. I mean, but in my mind, I'm thinking, well, that was crappy. And so for me, I started thinking, what did I do? I mean, I can't take responsibility for his actions, but what did I do to put myself in that situation where something
right.
like this could happen to me? Um, but when you're a girl, it seems like you can't really do anything without getting in some kind of situation. You go to a function, you're walking through the garage to get to your car, you've got a client who's got creepy ideas you don't even know about. I mean, it's like, it's all the time.
Right.
There's something weird going on. You have to be on guard all the time.
Exactly. And like you said, as a young girl, we don't really know at that point who uh, we're so in shock that we're not sure that we were responsible for this act.
Mm-hmm.
What did I do to bring this on? All of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden, we switched the blame of
Mm-hmm.
what this horrible act was that that other person did to you.
Mm-hmm. Even though you
It's
said
not your
no or leave me
right,
alone or they
right.
got you drunk and
It's
you're
not
passed
our
out
fault.
or yeah, yeah.
But yeah, and we switch that blame and we go right back at ourselves, and that doesn't help us any.
No, it doesn't
Um,
help us, but we do have to learn from it. Like, what kind of boundaries do I need to set in the future to make sure I don't get myself in that situation again? Because if you
exactly.
don't, you'll find yourself this happening over and over again. And that's hard because even my daughter's like, well, mom, I should be able to wear this cute outfit. I should be able to go to a party without being attacked. I should be able to do these. I'm like, you should. But that doesn't mean that there's not creepy, evil people out there who put their own desires over other people's and have total disregard to what you want.
Exactly.
They're there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that brings up the next point. So besides that happening, that rolled into other traumas, and it snowballs. But then I started figuring out,
Mm-hmm.
how do I overcome this? How
Mm-hmm.
do I protect myself?
Yeah.
How do I heal from something like this?
Mm-hmm.
And that what I did is, going back through my life and how I overcame it, I created a 5-step program
Nice.
to overcome and heal from trauma. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be a trauma just like mine.
Mm-hmm.
The wisdoms and the examples and exercises in the program are exactly what you would use for any type of trauma.
And what kind of trauma? Just give some ideas so people can think, okay, yeah, this is someone I need to talk to because this is similar to what happened to me or what I'm going
Right.
through.
Um, well, the first thing, and I do have this on my website, there's a trauma
Oh,
checklist.
give us your
A lot
website
of,
real quick. What is the
oh,
website?
yes, AnnPayton.com. That's ANNPAYTON.com.
Great. Well, I'll put
And
that in
there
the
is a,
description.
thank you. There's a
Okay, so go
trauma
ahead.
checklist
Mm-hmm.
in there. And what I have found with speaking with groups is people don't even realize that something they've gone through is trauma.
Mm-hmm.
The death of a parent, the death of a child, anything like that is a trauma.
A
And it
divorce.
does. Divorce,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Huge.
It's a trauma, and it triggers all kinds of things. It doesn't have to be rape and unplanned pregnancy and abortions and murder and homelessness. It can
Mm-hmm.
be something that is not, that is on the smaller scale.
Yeah.
I actually went through a short, um, I guess you would call depression. I had to give myself a lot of self-love and self-care for a while after
Mm-hmm.
I lost an election. I In my
Yes,
mind, I was the best candidate. I was
I
going to win,
remember.
and there was nothing
Yeah.
nothing to it.
I
So,
remember you were so heartbroken when you didn't win. I
oh,
was like, oh, I felt so sad for
I
you.
was. I
Yeah.
was. And so even something like that, people say, well, just get back and try it again. Yeah, maybe after I take some time for myself. And so I think that's what's important.
Mm-hmm.
And my book goes into those uh, steps, and it's planned and it's methodical, and it gives you examples and it helps you how to do it and where to look. And after I wrote the book, I realized, at least for myself as well, I needed someone to help me, to support me, to encourage me, and I needed someone who cared
Mm-hmm.
what was going to happen to me.
Yeah.
And when you find that person, whether that is a family member, a friend, a counselor, a coach, um, whatever, that is going to give you the hope to get to the other side.
Nice.
And a lot of people, they will, and what else happened to you? Well, blah, 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 blah. But the point of it all is I am a totally different person. I am joyful for the life that I've lived,
Mm-hmm.
and I am grateful that now I'm in a position that I can truly help others.
Yeah.
And
And that's a blessing. And I'm glad that you have come full circle now, where you have taken the difficult times and turned it into
mhm.
something, beautiful. Was that made lemonade out of those lemons, girl?
Yes,
Um, and I was
yes,
recently,
ma'am.
yeah, right. And this recent analogy keeps coming up. And I was sharing it recently with a friend. God makes beautiful things like rocks and trees and whatever. And you can go out and dig up a rock and you break it out and you hammer it and you break it out and you take this big chunk and it's just this rigid, dirty looking rock, right? But you
Right.
throw it in a tumbler and you bang it around in there in that tumbler with a lot of other rocks and you're getting banged and knocked around all kinds of crazy. But then when you turn off the tumbler and you pull out that rock that you put in there, it's beautiful. It's polished. It's
Right.
shiny. You can see all of its beauty. And you know that to get to that point, it got the crap beat out of it to get there, right? And
Exactly.
that's the way I look at people, because we all start out young and, trying to figure things out and we make so many mistakes and then we beat ourselves up for it. But that's part of the process. You're not going to come out 40, 50, 60 years old, beautiful and polished unless you go through the process.
That's exactly right. And I think that if people really do some self um what's the word I'm trying to introspection, that's it,
Mm-hmm.
to take some time and think about it. When did you learn the most things in your life?
Mm-hmm.
And
When
it
you're going through the
usually
hard
is
times.
right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And so there's a reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a benefit, and people are like, what?
Mm-hmm.
And are you off your rocker?
Yeah.
There's a benefit
Yeah.
for trauma?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We grow in character, we grow in our soul,
Mm-hmm.
we figure things out. And then maybe, not always, we can then use what we've learned and help somebody else. We
Right.
reach out and help someone else up to
Yes.
get where we are. And that
Yes.
is a beautiful thing.
And and you and I have talked about this before. That's why both of us had that dream of becoming authors and helping others. And I do part of mine
Yes.
through the divorce, but that's why I did my book. Which I
Yes.
my devotional book. It's a devotional, so it's
Wonderful.
it's scripture based devotional, and I have one of your first book, I think. Um,
Hmm.
that you shared with us in the networking group or whatever. And what I really loved is that you had a dream, you had been through something, and you wanted to take those lemons and turn them into something beautiful. And you just kept up with that idea. And I think with the Bob Proctor, which he teaches, you've got to come up with that idea,
Yep.
you conceive it, and then you speak it out and make a plan, right? How you're going to do it. You start taking those action steps on because
Right.
you're acting on faith and belief, right? That you're going to do it. And then it just appears like suddenly all these little pieces come together and you have created something beautiful. And so, I've seen
Exactly.
you go through that process and other people get down on themselves because they've been through something And I tell
Mhm.
people all the time who come into my office, like, you too will tell your story someday and help others. And I think that's
Right.
a valuable, valuable thing that you walk away with. Um, I've never met anybody with a perfect life. Everybody's got something. And
Yeah.
it's what you do
There
with
isn't
it.
one.
It's how you decide to view it,
Right.
the story you're telling yourself, how you decide to to take that in, your mindset about it, and then
Mhm.
what you do with it. If you sit there and go, "Oh my god, I was raped," and you're still 80 years old complaining about being raped,
Right.
70 years ago or whatever. Yes, it's terrible, but all you've done is hold on to that negativity. You haven't found a way to deal with it, accept it, learn from it, and then share that to help
Share
others.
it. And I just wrote an article recently. It hasn't been published yet, but I have found through my journey that um, self-love is part of it. And I'm talking about self-love like knowing yourself, um, doing being true to yourself, having self-compassion and self-awareness,
Hmm.
not selfishness, but you know that you can serve others if you're at your best self.
Hmm.
And if you're at your best self, you also are in a much better place to handle the ups and downs of life. So if maybe you have gotten through so far in your life and you haven't had anything, majorly traumatic, be thankful, but remember to start the self-love now,
Hmm.
because every one of us will go through something and you will be in a better position to handle that. And
Yes.
that's not just spiritually, not just physically. It's, not mental and emotional. It's all of it. It's all
Hmm.
of it wrapped together. And so I am a big advocate for, you know,
Yeah.
learning to self-love.
Yeah.
And sometimes I've done some crazy things to teach myself.
Oh, you do? Like what? What's some good examples? Give us a couple.
You know how women, we always are putting down our bodies. Our
Mm,
bodies aren't perfect, blah 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 blah.
yeah.
Well, I had a therapist one time and she goes, and this is your assignment for next week. And I'm like, okay. She just stand in front of a long mirror so you can see your
Oh,
entire body.
oh, that's every
And I
woman's
want
nightmare.
you,
That's a nightmare right there.
and I want you to tell yourself and look at yourself and tell yourself that you love you.
Ooh, that's a
And
tough one, right?
it is a tough one. And then she says, and now I want you to do it naked.
Ah!
So I did. I got totally naked, got in front of a long, long mirror. And, the first couple times I was doing it, I was probably kind of, lying,
Yeah.
oh,
Well,
I have
and
beautiful
Bob
legs.
Proctor says the more you say it, the brain hears it, and next thing you know, you believe it, right? Because whatever your self
Exactly.
talk is, and then I was just talking about this the other day. It's like we're all made of water, and if you're
Right.
saying negative things to yourself in the mirror, those negative vibrations are bouncing off that mirror, off that glass, and coming right back at you.
Right back at you.
You can't do that.
Exactly.
And your brain hears it.
Exactly.
It's resonating through. So yeah, you're lying to
Yeah.
yourself going, damn, I look good, and
Not sure.
your subconscious is like, liar, liar, pants on fire.
It's really funny after you do it several times. Um, like uh one of the parts that I've always had problem is my belly.
Mm.
Well, I started looking at my belly and saying, part of that belly brought in three
Yep.
beautiful children.
Yes.
And so, yeah, you may think, well, you're just a little bit cracky, silly, silly girl, Ann Payton. But actually, I'm a brave girl.
Yeah.
And I did what she did, and it
Yeah.
has changed my outlook. And now I am not so critical about myself. I don't get anxious about, always looking like a model or something.
And
It's
I see that so many, and I'm going to say probably 90% of the women out there, that'd be my guess, hate themselves for one reason or
Right.
another. They're too tall, they're too short, they're too wide, they're too skinny, they're too this, they're too that,
Right.
and they're always measuring who they are by how somebody else looks. And
Exactly.
I've experienced this so many times in my life because, as you know, I was a model and actress back in the day, and I had to work my tail end off at the gym and cardio to constantly be thin and look good for the camera. And it was
Yeah.
hard work. It was exhausting. But then when tried to make girlfriends, all they saw was, you look good. You look better than me. And you're like, girl, you have no idea how many,
Right.
50 hours a month I'm spending in the gym, and
Right.
the things that I want to eat and I can't, and all that stuff. And we're too hard on ourselves, and we're too hard on other women, and the judgmental
Yes.
attitudes. And I would definitely say that probably 90% of the women hate the way they look. And this
Right.
is an easy exercise. All you got to do is just change it. Accept you who you are. I've had children. I've been
Right.
married to a crazy guy and I couldn't focus on myself. I was married to an abuser and I couldn't leave the house to go to the gym, or
Right.
I was running a business working 20 hours a day and I couldn't do it. There are so many other great things about you or them. It
Right.
goes so far beyond this vessel that we are temporarily inhabiting.
Exactly. And I think that's where the self-discovery
Mm-hmm.
and introspection of who you really are,
Yeah.
not the body, but the soul,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
find your beauty.
Mm-hmm.
We all have it.
Mm-hmm. And there was it. The
But it,
Bible says beauty from ashes. Well, I see ashes as
yes,
all the burning moments that I've been through hell and back with somebody or something, whatever. Uh, because you do come out the other
exactly.
side either better or worse, and that all depends on how you decide to look at it. I mean, it really is a mindset.
That's
And
right.
Bob Proctor, who's one of the, God rest his soul, he passed away a couple of years ago, and I never got to go to one of his live programs, but always wanted to. you know, he talks about this. Quit that
Yeah.
stinking thinking, just
Deacon.
quit it.
Yeah.
Just quit. Stop talking to yourself like that. And it really does help.
Yes.
Um,
And one of the things that he always stressed was a grateful journal.
mm,
Try not
mhm.
to miss a day and write down two or three things that you're grateful
Yeah.
for. And it doesn't have to be like, I'm grateful for my kids, my job. Like yesterday, I was grateful for this wonderful cup of coffee I made
Yes. The simple things, right?
because it was so good.
Yeah. So me and chocolate. I put chocolate in my mouth.
I
I'm like,
know.
oh, thank you, God, for chocolate.
Exactly.
It's like, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's just making my day better today.
Right.
Yeah,
And
I
you
that in
get
my
into the habit, it
Yeah, so
helps. It
that's
really
why in
does.
in my book, the very first thing on any of these is it's just I am so thankful for, and then there's lines, to say what you're thankful for.
Wonderful.
That's the very first thing in my journal is because the more you're
That is
grateful for
so right.
something, the more grateful you are. And it's just having positive thoughts. Like the other day I was having a really negative situation. Okay. And I was about ready to have a tantrum. I really was.
Yeah.
And I have my little mantra that I say to myself when I'm having one of those moments, and it's joy, peace, happiness, love, abundance. Joy, peace, happiness, love, abundance. Joy, peace, love,
Right.
happiness, abundance. And I say it until I'm not upset anymore. And it may take 5 times, it may take 50 times, but I
Yeah.
just keep saying it. And then it's funny because after a certain number, all of a sudden I go, oh, I feel so much better now. I can move on with
Right.
my situation. But but all
That's
of those
awesome.
but all of
That
those are
is so good.
all positive words,
Right.
positive vibrations, positive words. And when you say them enough, it overcomes those negative thoughts and words because all of a sudden when you just keep repeating it over and over and over again, I've noticed that I can't have the negative thought anymore. It like
Right.
shoves it out. And then the body language begins to follow. So for me, that
Hmm.
works. It might work for someone else. I don't know. You may have other words, but Man, there are days when
Well,
I'm saying it a lot.
well, I applaud you for putting that in your book because that is so important. And I hope people listen to you and
Hmm.
do that because it makes such a difference. I
Well,
know it has for me.
yeah, and you're teaching the same thing, and so that's why I resonate with you because you and I are
Mhm.
we're starting to vibrate very similarly. We've been through some similar things, and over the years, that's kind of
Yeah,
like I always feel that vibrational similarity with you. Um,
yeah.
that we've been through similar things. We're trying to figure out how to help ourselves, how to help others, and that's a process. And each person does it
Mhm.
differently. But I just think it's beautiful what you're doing. And I applaud you for the hard work and everything you've done and wanting to help others. It's amazing because, you've been through it. You've
Yeah.
been through it. So,
Well, thank you for what you're doing. And
well,
I
thanks.
think as a lot of us women step up and try to
Yeah.
empower other women,
Yeah.
we are going to find all those brave girls in all those women
Yeah.
that may be hiding
Yeah.
somewhere inside.
Yeah. Well, we need
And
to sit down and talk again because I want to hear all the stuff you're doing so I want to copy you, man. I want you to be my mentor. Show me how to do some
oh,
stuff.
wow, we'll mentor each other.
There we go. I love it. And that's what women really need to do. They need to stop
Yeah.
looking at someone and going, well, they have less wrinkles, or their bosom
Yes.
isn't as saggy as mine, or their tummy
Right.
is flatter than mine, or something. I was like, just
Right.
you have no idea. That woman may be, I have had beautiful women walk in my office, stunningly beautiful. And then I hear their story, what the kind of craziness they're dealing with at home. And I'm thinking, oh my
Right.
gosh, girl, you got to get out of that.
Oh,
This is terrible.
yeah.
And they're just putting on that face, trying to get through the
Yeah.
day, trying to pretend everything's
Yeah.
okay. And they need to go.
Mask it up.
That's right. And that's what most people do. They just, like you
Oh,
said, they suppress it and mask it up. But there
yeah.
does, you're never going to really truly be all that you're meant to be and be able to help others if you don't work on yourself.
Well, and when you mask it, you are basically just existing.
Hmm.
No
Yeah.
one knows you, and you don't know anyone else because you're not being who you are.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your program. So do people come in for consultation or do you work with them online or through Zoom? I mean, how does it work?
Well, what I have done so far is I've been a speaker in a group, and I've uh, brought in my workbook to help them get started. Now, that workbook I use individually as well. I coach to online through Zoom if they're not local.
Hmm.
If they're local, sometimes it's better just to get in front of each other.
Yeah.
Um, and then also, I have my first webinar coming up at the end of February.
Oh, cool. I want to
And
know how to do that.
yeah, and then I'm starting a radio show in February, just trying to get the word out, and giving value to women,
Hmm. Are
to
you going to
get
have guests?
started.
Are you going to have guests on your show?
Yes,
Ooh, sign
yes,
me up, girl.
I will. I will. I'll keep you posted.
Awesome. I'm so excited for you. This is beautiful.
Yeah,
These are all
yeah,
things I've thought about doing too, and I know you've talked about it before, so I'm so happy that you're getting to do it. And girl, it's awesome.
yeah.
Any last words? We got
Well,
like 4 minutes.
4 minutes. Well, a lot of people ask me why I do this,
Hmm.
and I think this is important because maybe then people will know where I'm coming from. And many people who have gone through some sort of trauma, um, they are all alone,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all alone in their head. They don't realize that there's resources out there. They don't realize that other people have gone through it. But
Mm-hmm.
your own inclusion and fear is keeping you stuck.
Mm.
And I did not have a good support network. It was by the grace of God that I was able to overcome.
Mm.
I want to be that person that I needed back when I was 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't be that person for myself, like take my middle-aged person, go back in time
Yeah.
and be there for the 16-year-old Anne. but I can do that now for others.
Mm-hmm.
And whether I show that through my books, my workbooks, coaching, speaking, um, conference calls, that will mean that my life has purpose, even though it started out the way it did.
Well, your life has always had purpose. You're just
That's
now
true.
polished up because you've been through all the tumbling,
I've been through the
and
tumbler.
now you're all polished and you're ready to help others. See, that's how it works, girl. You've been
I
through it.
like how you put it.
Yeah. Well, you're amazing. You always were, but we all start out
Yeah,
clay that needs to be molded into whatever we're
that's
supposed to be, So
exactly.
that's amazing. Do you want to give any contact information real quick on how people can find you and get a hold of
Sure.
you?
The easiest way is annpayton.com. You can sign up for information. You can get some freebies. If you would like to email me, it's Ann@annpayton.com. So that's easy to remember. I'm also on Facebook, LinkedIn. So you can message me that way.
Is it Ann
And
Payton on Facebook and LinkedIn? And just Ann Payton?
Yes, I think the actual tag is author Ann Collins.
Okay.
But
Because
if
you
you look up
remarried.
Ann, yes, I did
Yeah.
remarry.
Oh,
So
I'm
yeah,
glad. Are you happy? Are you happily married
I
now? Yay.
I I have a gift from God in my husband. I'll tell you,
Oh, that's good. Well,
very
see,
happy.
you went through the tumbler and you're polished and beautiful and ready to serve. See, that's just God's plan right there. But
Well,
when
and
you're good,
also
when you're
just real
going,
quickly on my website, there's a Calendly link, so you can sign up for a free call.
oh, nice. Perfect. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I think you sent me an email with all that. So I'm going to put it down in the description.
All righty.
I just feel so blessed to be able to visit with you. Sorry I missed you on Sunday. And girl, you
Oh,
need to come
as
back to our networking group and say hi to everybody and share and talk
yeah.
again. Yeah.
Well, let's touch base and we'll do that.
All right. Let's go have like a gluten-free muffin or something sometime.
There you go.
I'm gluten-free. It's hard to find a place.
I know. Oh, I've so enjoyed my time with you today. Thank you.
You're welcome. I feel blessed to have you here and thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing you soon. And if anybody needs any help, please reach out to Ann because we've all been through some trauma and any kind of help is better than none. But Ann's the expert in this area. So you want that. You want Ann Payton to help you out. So don't forget to like and subscribe and all the descriptions so that you can get the trauma help that you need. They're going to be right down here below. So thank you. Thanks,
Yes.
Ann.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Have a
you.
great
Thanks.
day.
You too. Bye bye.
All right. Bye bye.